We signed up for today's micro webinar that we're putting on here at Nextbook Media. We're trying to address a question that we get from time to time is, hey, how can we get more readers into our digital editions? And there's a variety of ways to do that. What we're going to talk about today is what we've creatively come up with here, the frightening world of social media and how to navigate that. My name is Todd Reinhardt. I am one of the success managers here at Nextbook Media. Also joining me today in the presentation will be my counterpart, fellow success manager, Adam Grimm.
Hey, Todd, and everybody else.
So what we're going to do, a few quick housekeeping items. Again, the format of this is very conversational. We want you to ask a lot of questions, so feel free to go ahead and ask questions through the GoToMeeting portal, and we'll address those either as we're going through or at the very end. We are recording it, so if everything goes as planned, we will have a recorded version that you'll be able to use as a resource or share with your team. Again, the format is really simple. This is a 20-minute, no more than 30 minutes of your time. We're going to present some high-level things for you to look at, such as what networks make sense for you, what you should be doing at a minimum to promote your digital edition, and also ways that you can kind of help schedule these things in here. So without being said, I think we're going to go ahead and jump right into what we have to talk about. If we go to the first slide, obviously when we talk about social media, there's still the big name that's out there is Facebook. Facebook is still the largest network, still has the most engagement among the audience that's out there on social media. Another important thing, if we look at the next slide, is traffic coming into Nextbook Digital Editions from social media. Most of that traffic is coming from Facebook, so almost 2/3 of all traffic is coming from the Facebook social media network. So again, if you already have a Facebook page, there's certain things we're going to show you at a minimum you should be doing to drive readers into your publication. And finally, if you look at that, kind of who does Facebook really work well with? Well, certainly our consumer clients, it's a natural fit. Depending on the B2B or association market, it could be a really good fit for you. If it's more educational, journalistic, more high level, may not be as good a fit, but again, it's something to think about when you look at, hey, how does my audience fit into this? So what we want to do is jump in from Facebook and show you just a couple ways our clients are actually using the Facebook network to drive traffic into their digital edition. So if we go to the next slide, actually we're going to the first sample. I'm sorry, we're going to talk about Google Plus in a minute, but if we hop out and go to our first sample that we're going to see here, a magazine that we talk about a lot, Connections Magazine. This is their Facebook fan page. Not going to get into a lot of what they're doing, but through their fan page, they have access to other social media networks, whether it's Twitter, things of that like. But what they do on their page to drive readers into their digital edition and into their content is certainly a couple of things. If you scroll down a little bit, we'll see on the left-hand side, they took the feature article of their most recent issue and they talked about it. They're trying to create conversation around that. The great thing about the digital editions we make is each page has a permalink, so they can drive people specifically from the Facebook post here right into the magazine to that page, create conversation around it. So not only are you trying to link them to your publication, but you're just trying to extend your reach of your brand and your content. Another thing they do back on their Facebook page is when their new issue comes out, and at a minimum, if you scroll down a little bit, I think it's closer to the bottom, is when they announce when their new issue comes out. Another thing they do right here, they had an event. This is kind of a way to kind of make this all tie together, create good synergy among your content, your brand. They had an event called Connections Live. They promoted it within their digital magazine. They obviously also promoted it on their Facebook page. Now they're linking it all together, so no matter how their reader or their fan comes in contact with this, depending on how they interact with their content, whether it's through social media or through websites or through print, it's allowing the reader to say, hey, this is what works best for me, and go ahead and do that. So they've done this around the event Connections Live. So just a couple quick things of what they're doing there. And if we go to the next example, Jeff, we have a client. We did a buyer's guide for them, and they did a really nice thing. They embedded their buyer's guide directly into their page. So if you see on the right-hand side under their cover, it says 2012 Buyer's Guide. They've actually, I think, wrote just a real basic app, or I think there's probably an app out there already in Facebook that you can plug this into. They embedded their guide in, so now their reader doesn't have to leave Facebook to go ahead and go through this. So they can turn the pages. They can actually click on it to zoom to bring it in and make it more readable. There's YouTube videos that they have in their publication. Those are playing. So a real nice feature, for, again, the largest network that's out there. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to flip it over to Adam, and he's going to talk about two of the newer players that are in the social media market and to see if they make sense for you and how you can leverage those into gaining new readership.
Yes, Todd. We're going to talk about some things that if you saw this webinar last year when we did it, there were a couple sites that we're going to talk about now that we would not have covered back then. It is a fast-changing world. So we'll start with Google+, and talk about first the demographics of Google+. So if we go to the next slide here, we can see the way it breaks down, there are about 72% guys, 28% girls, 20% other. That is businesses and organizations, nothing scary there. The top 10 occupations on Google are engineer, developer, and software engineer. That covers over 50%. And then teachers and designers make up nearly another 30%. So highly technical audience there, pretty highly targeted too. If we can go to the next slide. A couple things to keep in mind if you're thinking about going on Google Plus or using that as part of your strategy. First of all, just a caveat, there has been limited growth. This isn't the fastest growing network. Like we covered in the last slide, it's a very targeted audience. It hasn't really had the mass appeal that some of the other big networks have had. Another key point here, if we go to the next slide, SEO. This is one area that you do want to consider with Google Plus, one strong advantage. Most people are using Google for search right now, and because Google Plus is Google's main social network, they will allow you to, if you post your link to Google Plus, frequently that will come up right in the top of people's search results in like personalized search or something like that. So there are some SEO implications here. If search is part of your strategy, then you do want to utilize that for your digital edition links. Next, what we're going to cover is going back to that targeted audience here. So if you have a highly technical audience, engineers, software engineers, developers, an IT audience, then you might want to consider being Google+. That is really the target audience. A lot of those users are going to Google+ over places like Facebook and even in some cases Twitter. So if that is your niche, then it's really well suited for you. Also developing brands. Because of that SEO power that you have there, if you're really trying to get the word out and you don't have a big list built yet, you're kind of a newer publication, then Google Plus could be a great way for you to just become a little more prevalent. Next, we're going to cover the other big social network, what everyone's been talking about, Pinterest. This was kind of a surprise network that popped out and has just been experiencing rapid growth. If you see here, now this goes back to January 2012, so the numbers are even much higher today than they are with the date of this graphic. But as of May 2011, there were fewer than 2 million unique readers, and people were spending, on average, less than 20 minutes per visitor in the site. That has dramatically increased to the beginning of this year. They were already at 11.72 million unique visitors with an average of 97 minutes spent on the site. So both in the world of engagement and the world of visits, Pinterest is really a big up-and-coming player, really taking a huge part of the market share there. So definitely a place you want to be if you fit in the right niche. If we go to the next slide a little bit, this is exactly the opposite of Google Plus when we get to demographics. 87% female, 13% male. We even had, the average age range here is 25 to 54, kind of mid-age, with the highest being that 35 to 44 category. So just some demographic information to kind of think and apply to your audience when you're deciding whether or not this is an area you want to start to spend some time in. Todd, can you tell me a little bit about what you do for a strategy on this site?
That's a great question. And if you go to our next sample, a client of ours, Maryland Life Magazine, this gives you an example of how they are using Pinterest. Pinterest is a very image-based, social media network. So here you can see on their particular board, they have these different sections. If you go to the Maryland Fun section in the middle there, and you click on that, basically what this is a basically what we see here is they're focusing on images, particular to that particular board. So what you could do is you could take images from your articles or your cover or what have you, and if you go to advance it one more, we can go ahead and see, this is what, if I click on Maryland Fun, I had these different images. So they talk about the Maryland Science Center, they talk about the Renaissance Fair, how this would help me as a reader to get into your digital edition. You would really want to go ahead and, if you hit it again, Jeff, is link these particular pins directly to the articles in your digital edition. So you can do it one of two ways. You can go and just upload the images from those and embed the links manually, or we released a new integrated Pinterest feature inside of our digital magazine that you could go ahead and pin it to your board, and that way it's already linked up there for you. So one of two ways, but the idea here is as the person's following you and say, okay, I'm interested in learning more about the Maryland Science Center. If you have an article in your digital magazine, they would click on it and it jumps right to that particular article. So again, as Adam said, is it going to be a good fit for everyone? Maybe, maybe not. If your titles appeal maybe more towards, go back to Adam's graphic, female segment. If you're doing, we have customers do quilting magazines and arts and crafts types of magazines, might be a really good fit for you to get on there and tap into not only your existing fans, but the viral nature of these networks opens it up to gaining new fans, new readers that can interact with your content. So if we go ahead and go back to the...
if we can bounce out to the browser real quick, I'm going to talk a little about Twitter. Can't talk about social media without at least mentioning Twitter. In all of these areas, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, people are starting to use these as news aggregators. So whereas before people would look to their email for email newsletters and get their information there, because of just how full people's inboxes are, more people are following the brands they like on Twitter, Facebook, places like that, and getting the news and articles there. So the best way for you to tie into that is really is to think strategically how you're going to stay in front of the audience. When you put a post out to Twitter, you reach that audience for a little bit, but then with even a few hours, the post has gone down and people aren't really going to be seeing that. So that's got to drop down their feeds. So a strategy recommended, and this, I pulled this client in here because they use this strategy specifically, is sort of a two-step process. First of all, announcing when the new issue comes out. So you can see that near the top there, there's one that says, check out the latest, download the July-August Max Action magazine, which is great. So now everybody that goes there sees the new magazine go out. They can click on it, go right in, and start reading the magazine. There are also some other posts, and you can kind of piece these out throughout the week, even throughout the month, or you can even post them a couple times a week. But what they did is they picked out the top feature stories and put a mention about those stories. So, there was showing some restraint with a story they had, and some other things down there. So you could pick, what we'd really recommend that you do is pick some of your top feature stories, and we'll talk about a little more of the scheduling in a little bit, but plan what you think your audience will be like, and plan enough of those that you can mention throughout the week or throughout the term of your publication. Beyond that, you might even want to promote some features that you have. Some people have had a lot of success asking questions like, do you use our publication for research? Did you know you can search our archives and annotate articles? Or some other people might promote the video how-tos they have in their publications. Really ask what your audience is going to be most interested in, and then plan your content around that.
And again, when we talk about the big three, and certainly with Pinterest gaining a lot of steam, one that is kind of not overlooked but is not talked about as much is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very important network, especially among the business professionals. B2B publications have a really good fit with LinkedIn. So chances are that you already have a group for your particular, your title, your brand, your property. So the same thing is you want to be able to leverage your LinkedIn groups to stay in contact with those thought leaders, those business leaders, the people that want your editorial content and also are going to be more apt to dig into and engage with your advertising content. So again, at a minimum, you see here in this particular client, They post when the new issue comes out. It allows that to get conversation around and say, hey, somebody could comment that, I enjoyed this article in it, to try to get people to get into the magazine. And the reason we're really bringing this up as a way to drive readers into your digital edition is not that we feel like, hey, your digital edition should be, put ahead of your website, behind your website. We're not trying to rank it that way. We're just trying to let you know there's a lot of ways you can get inside people's content, and maybe you shift. Maybe one week you focus on driving people to your website, and the next week you drive them into your digital magazine. Because right now we know that email is the #1 referring source into digital publications, but there's limitations with email. People get too many emails, and spam filters, any number of things. So it's really important that if you already have these networks established, to use them to your advantage. So again, LinkedIn, probably very highly successful and used a lot among membership associations, B2B type publications.
Yeah, you don't want to forget the networks that you control. So we've talked about the big networks out there, LinkedIn, Twitter, things like that, but a lot of you have built social networks on your website. So if we go to the next tab there, here's an example of one, a blog. A blog really is a social network. It's a place people go to get content, a lot of times to interact in the comments area. This might also include forums, if you have those on your website, or even some of the bigger associations and bigger brands in general have their own social networks with discussions and friending and all of that built into their own website. So don't overlook these. A couple ways to approach this. Guy in Telescope here, when their first issue came out, wrote a really nice blog post on the advantages of digital, why a reader would be interested in going to digital, and they sell their content. So they put the pricing in there and a link to actually purchase a subscription. Some publishers go the extra step and actually post, put a post out with each issue, kind of highlighting what readers might want to read. So a lot of different ways to do that. If you have a forum, you might want to do it a little more interactive and actually start commenting on posts and encouraging people to read different pieces of content. But definitely take that, do a little bit of an audit of what you have already in your own websites or maybe other niches that you might be connected to. Don't limit yourself to just the top big name networks, because a lot of times those smaller outliers really pull in a lot of the traffic.
And I think what we've really focused on, for the first 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes of this conversation, are things that you, as the publisher or your teams, can do to kind of help promote, market, your digital magazine, your digital edition. We want to kind of shift gears a little bit and show you some things within the interface itself, or ways that you can use the digital magazine to let your readers do some of that heavy lifting for you. So in this particular example, hopefully everyone's aware by now that I want to say March, I think it was March, we introduced our new interface. It made a bigger real estate area, but the thing that you can do now is create a custom toolbar. So in this particular one, we pulled out those sharing features that clients use a lot, the Facebook like, the LinkedIn share, the Twitter, the tweet this button. So with one-click access, your reader can help your content go viral. They can tweet it, they can Facebook it. It can be about the issue itself. Some can be page-specific information. But the idea is, if you make it easier for your reader, one-click access, they're more apt to use those features. They're more apt to share it among their fans and colleagues who may not have been exposed to your brand, and so now they're kind of doing that heavy lifting for you. Another thing that we did, that was our client that did in the next example, was really neat, is they said, okay, we already have a blog, we already have Twitter, we want to integrate that into the digital piece itself. So in this particular piece, they integrated their Twitter feed. So this is a dynamic feed. It's a real time. So as they would get an updated tweet, it would show up here. Same thing, as they post new content to their blog, shows up here as well. But the good thing is this forum acts as a conduit. So if someone says, hey, I want to subscribe to that blog, they can do it within inside of here. If they want to subscribe to your Twitter account and follow you on Twitter, they can do that. So now you're using these different devices that you have, your websites, your social media networks, your digital editions, to use as conduits to flow information and move readers around depending on how they best want to use their technology and their medium. So again, these last two focusing on how the readers can kind of help you spread the word, and the first part of the discussion is more of how you can kind of help shape the conversation and move things along. One thing we get asked a lot is, okay, I get this, I get the concept, it sounds like a lot of work, where do I go from here? Adam's going to, I think, kind of hit this one and kind of show you how it can make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, so we've done this webinar a lot in the past, right, Todd? And usually we ask for feedback, and people tell us, that's great, we love the ideas, but we really don't have time for that. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here talking about how you can do this in a much smaller amount of time. First step here, we tried to identify each of these networks, and we'd be happy to do this with you on a one-on-one basis, but who is the key demographic for the network? You don't have to be everywhere at once. So, we'd much rather see you do one, maybe two networks, in a really good fashion, really well planned out, than do all the networks, do 10 networks and not really put any content up there. So the first thing that we do when we sit down with a client is try to plan an editorial calendar. Most of you publishers are really familiar with that. It's a concept that's definitely not new to you. So we kind of take the same concepts and apply it to social media. So you sit down, you look at the calendar, and then plan out where you want to put your content. So if you say you want to do a Facebook post every 3 days, you can give the content for that. You'd mark those out, which days you can put what content up there. And then let's say Pinterest. Let's say you want to put a weekly Pinterest post. Then you'd say, hey, we can do this weekly. Let's plan out which content is going to go on which days. These are just kind of rough examples. So that's how you schedule out your time and schedule out your posts. So rather than frantically going every week and trying to remember what you post, what should you post, you kind of have that one consolidated time where you pushed it out. Now, if you go to the next slide here, there are some things that make this planning process and this whole posting process a lot easier. There are tools like the free tools like Hootsuite, which a lot of people use and love, and then there's some tools you pay for like Radian 6 or something like that. What these kind of tools are going to do are a couple different things. First of all, on that planning side, rather than planning it out and having to go back into the sites every time you want to post, you could just sit down at any time at the beginning of the month or something like that, plan out which articles you want to push out, plan out when you're going to announce your issue and all of that, put all that into Hootsuite, and it'll automatically throughout the month push out those posts on that regular basis. That can save you a ton of time and give you more time to interact with audience and do those other kind of fun things. The other great thing about this is analytics. Everybody always asks about timing. When should I post? What time of day? When in the week? With these, you can actually you can track that. So you'll be able to see all the different posts, see how many clicks each post got in, and start to get an idea of what's working, what keywords are working for your audience, what time frames are working for your audience, all of that. And both Hootsuite and then the more expensive software, Radian 6, HubSpot. I'm not making endorsements here, just to kind of give you some examples. Those will all have that really highly interactive analytics system to support it. And then you also, if you want to take it to the next level, have things like custom tagging and your Omniture support that we'd love to get to work with you on, where with your Omniture system, you can actually start to tag your links and see there how your different campaigns and how your different promotions are doing. So that's something that's really nice about the Omniture system.
And again, as we set up at the very beginning, wanted to present some high-level stuff. We didn't get very granular in about a 20, 25-minute format. So we are at the point now where we had some questions come in, and I think the one that actually speaks to what Adam just mentioned is, among your clients, who is really in charge of doing the post to the social campaigns? And I'll let Adam answer as well, but I know I just came from a meeting with a client where we talked about this very subject. And I said, well, it really varies. Sometimes the editorial teams want to control this. They feel it's an extension of what they do. Sometimes it's the marketing teams that are in there doing this promotion because they feel it's more of a promotional type thing. And sometimes it falls in with the audience development team. So I think it depends on where your strength lies as an organization, but I don't know if, Adam, if you have any insight into that as well.
Yeah, I would just, whoever has the main control, like I said, everybody's a little bit different, but I would just make sure there's a lot of collaboration. We've seen teams where, like Scott said, anybody might have control, but they all work together to achieve the same goals. It works out really well. We have also seen teams where maybe the editorial team controls social media, then they don't let the marketing team or the audience development team really touch the social media without jumping through a lot of hoops. And that tends to hurt everybody in the end. You know, they have less content to post, there's less kind of brand awareness with different media out there, and then also you can't really, you know, you don't have access to the content. So as long as you have good collaboration between your teams, I don't think the actual gatekeeper of the content matters all that much.
While we still have some time, a few minutes left to field more questions, we have launched a poll just trying to get some feedback, and it basically it says, are you currently promoting your digital edition via social media? So that's a pretty wide open, open-ended question, but we're just curious to see if it's something that you guys haven't thought of until now. So we're trying to get a sense of who has used it and who's not. So we'll give you a couple minutes to think about that. Let me see. I thought I saw a question come in. Again, if you use the GoToMeeting question on the right-hand side of your screen, you can go ahead and type in your questions there. We'll be glad to answer them. And I think if we look at the poll results while we're waiting to see if there's any final questions come in, not everyone voted, but that's good. I mean, I know it says right here 100% of the people who voted said yes, they're currently promoting. I know personally I recognize several people in today's audience, and I know we featured one of the particular customers of ours who I think she does a really nice job of using social media to drive readership into our digital edition. So I'm glad it worked out that we were able to feature the work that she's doing, and hopefully she can speak to the benefits of doing that.
Yeah, one of our, I do see an attendee put in a question there, Todd. Where do I go in the Omniture system to track social media?
That's a great question. As we all know, the Omniture system is very robust, capable of reporting back a lot of things. And I know Adam alluded to campaigns that can be set up, but all the social media buttons, whether it's just any of the individual sharing buttons, whether it's the Facebook like button, the tweet button, the LinkedIn share that we had showed earlier, those are available under a report, a next book report called Post to Social Bookmarking Sites. So we can actually see, you know, how many times readers are clicking on those buttons and what they're doing there. So we have that capability. One thing that we didn't talk about is in those same spots in the custom toolbar, our team is in the process of adding almost like a pin it or Pinterest button to there. So again, it'll be a simple thing for your reader to do to pin it to their board, and again to help make that that information go viral for you. Again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I see we're almost at the half-hour mark. The questions have kind of dried up, so we appreciate you taking the time to attend today's session. We encourage you to reach out to Adam and myself and see how we can actually take the information we shared today and make it more customized for your particular brand, content, and program. So on behalf of Adam Grimm and everyone here in the room helping with the technical nature of today's webinar, thank you for attending, thank you for your business, and we look forward to